believe today's freshers have got a multiple sources, and especially when AI is in place, when I connect from that era to today's 21st century's era, every single fresher should actually go through employability skills first. Communication in the right manner, at the right time, to the right source, at the right point is important. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness is a concept that is actually now encouraging employees to be the part of organization. Today, freshers, or even freshers for the matter, mostly general employees will also not be aware of what POSH is all about. They should remember that just a normal joking in a sexual environment or creating that kind of sexual comments can also lead to sexual harassment. Prior to coming to an organization, that there are certain do's and don'ts that you should not be doing, or you should be doing in the organization in a disciplinary manner. Generally, today's freshers I've seen, they just come in and they say, oh, I'm new to the organization, I'm not aware. That's where the problem starts. I would say a combination of technical and behavioral skills is something that performance appraisals are done on nowadays. When I say about growing, it says they take ownership from day one. They know what they're doing. They treat onboarding as a launch pad. So what happens? What is the most dangerous question in training today is, why me?
Hi viewers, most job seekers believe degrees, certifications and technical skills are enough to get hired. But many opportunities are lost because of things no one teaches, like communication, confidence, professionalism, workplace etiquettes and understanding how companies really assess talent. Even after getting hired, many professionals struggle because they don't know how to learn, grow and stand out inside an organization. In today's episode, you are going to learn how to build a career that grows after hiring, not just that ends at selection. To answer this, I have brought someone who works at the exact interaction of hiring readiness, learning, employee growth, and workplace standards. She has trained professionals across 7 countries, led programs in communication skills, leadership development, DEI, POSH, onboarding, compliance, and workplace capacity building. She has seen firsthand why some people grow rapidly inside organizations while others remain stuck despite having talent. So without wasting a single second, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Let's hear it from Pooja Khanna, Global Manager, Learning and Development at Photon. Pooja ji, welcome to Let's Hear It From.
Thank you, sir. It is an honor to have me on this show. And especially when I got the invite from you and I felt like, wow, somebody's admiring talents across the globe.
Yes.
This is an honor for me to be here with you. Hi guys, my name is Pooja. I have been in the industry for almost 23 years plus now. I started my career as human resource professional, gone through a lot of ups and downs, learnings, I think challenges, but yes, the journey was great. I have also worked as a legal professional. I'm an LLB and an advocate in corporate law. And at the same time, I am now working and heading the learning and development department, which is very, very close to my heart too.
So with this, I come to the very first question, Pooja ji, from an L&D leader's lens. What core skills do you believe freshers and early professionals must build to stay relevant in today's workplace?
See, to be honest, to answer this question, let's go back to actually the college life. Because if I remember myself in a college life, I remember when it was 1998, I passed out from the school and there were not many tools, internet, telephones, mobiles. It was all in the developing era. So what has happened is that we were not aware of all these learning and development tools. So I believe today's freshers have got a multiple sources, and especially when AI is in place, when I connect from that era to today's 21st century's era, Having said that, when it comes to learning and development, every single every single fresher should actually go through employability skills first. Moving from a college life to a professional life, it's like a lot of challenges. They look at seniors, they see, oh, can I learn? Do I have to learn? Do I have to produce? They're confused. And then it's like sometimes it makes them feel like little demotivated also, that looking at, oh, how will I learn this because there's no practical learning around. So I think the employability skills at least teach them how to deal with professionals, how to deal with their seniors, or how to deal even with their peers at the same level. That is important. So employability skills like how to talk and how to behave and how to answer, and do not worry that, oh, I don't know this, and how will I behave, like, how will I work on this. I think these are the small employability skills that actually prepares a fresher to be little stronger inside a professional environment.
Pooja madam, you have designed and delivered extensive soft skills trainings on topics like, say, communication, listening, workplace etiquettes, etc. Tell us which specific skills most strongly influence hiring and career growth.
Today's generation, when I see and coming, I always do communication evaluations before even I teach communication to my employees or anybody outside my employees who wanted to really have a gist of learning the communication. I see there is a lag in understanding. There is a lag in how quickly I might be able to respond to you, Ajay. But the thing is my answer correct? That's my fear. Will you get offended in that answer? I know how to speak English. I know how to communicate. But communication in the right manner, at the right time, to the right source, at the right point is important. How much to communicate, how to add humor in that communication. So when you talk about communication, it's a wider skill. It has too many things in it. You can say pace, how fast you're speaking. Is the person able to understand? The tone, the clarity, the fluency, the pronunciation. This is important. So this is the nerve today, that I'm speaking, I'm fine. Having said that, have I put a pause? Have I put a pace, correct pace? I'm just speaking. I'm just telling everything. I want to tell everything because I'm a fresher, because I wanted to. So this is where I felt the need of an hour today. Communication is not a barrier for any person in today's world, even in professional environment. But the way they communicate, the way they express, the expression, the clarity, the articulation, the intonation of your voice is most important. And these are the major skills that I feel are lacking in today's generation. They want to express everything in one go, that is, they're running a rain. No. They should stop, pause, communicate, express. That's where I pick up my communication skills mostly.
Okay, let's deep down into this question. My next question is, but practically speaking, how can job seekers practically improve their professional communication and confidence before entering into a corporate environment?
See, they should practice. Now, it's very easy to say practice. It is very easy to say go and join a course. There are multiple institutes that teaches. But what I believe is that instead of running for anything like that, spending a huge amount of money, if you sit down in front of a mirror and practice yourself, how you speak, how you articulate, and especially you can record yourself. If, say, for example, in the morning I get up, I have a newspaper that comes to my house. And if I'm a fresher, I want to understand how I improve my communication. I might read it sound like I'm reading a newspaper. And after that, I record myself and I listen to myself. How much I'm speaking particularly in a correct way. Where is the pause going wrong? Am I reading like just a news reader? Am I reading or talking to a person that can make them understand? So small gist and practices. Stand in front of a mirror, speak and talk and express yourself and see how much you are, and then record. Basically, these two exercises actually can help anybody to become and understand how communication can improve, rather than you relying on too many people and saying, hey, you lack in communication. That's a demotivation for a person.
Okay. That was such a practical advice. Job seekers, if you are listening, then this was one piece of amazing piece of information. Pooja ji, let's come to diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have worked on DI initiatives. What should candidates understand about DI before entering into an organization?
See, I'll give you examples on this, very practical examples. DEI is now actually a concept which has been accepted globally. Earlier, this was not a concept where people were aware of diversity. Diversity, inclusion, belongingness. Now it has like DEIB. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness. So it's become now DEIB total. Okay. Yeah. So what happens is that how people should know this is that companies are ready to hire when they advertise something in the newspaper about a job in the LinkedIn Naukri. They always say people from different religions are acceptable, or maybe people from various backgrounds are also able to apply for a job. So this is where companies have started accepting diversity, because if people from different diverse backgrounds comes to the organization, they create a culture of learning, they create a culture of creativity. There is a curation of ideas, there are curation of mindsets, the temperaments that that they bring, and behaviors that they bring, and that becomes easy for an organization to start growing and having that success, which is very important. That's called diversity. When we say equity, why equity is important? Because everybody is treated on an equal level. If I am actually a senior person, I will be given a simple level of interviews, while a person who's a fresher might go less number of interviews, but still the interviews still will be there. So it's like equitable to all the people in the organization is important, treating everyone equally. If I am being given, so for example, in one of the organization that I know, that leaves are being given to somebody who joins the organization either as a fresher or as a senior person, is equal. So it's an equality that you are equal in the organization. When you talk about inclusion, you are included in the idea. So if there is an event happening, we will not say, hey, because you are senior to the organization, you will be only the person who will be working in this event. Say for example, any Diwali festival, or maybe you can say any other kind of festivals that happens. Everybody is invited, everybody's ideas are taken. How do we actually develop this particular festival? That includes everybody. And most important, they start feeling the sense of belongingness to the company.
Right.
You're doing a lot of, like, majority of the company do blood camps, or they actually invite people from panel discussions. So they wanted people to participate. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness is a concept that is actually now encouraging employees to be the part of organization. So it's very important that we do a lot of events, lot of programs that helps employees to feel that you are part of the organization.
Yes, such a practical answer. Let's move on to another important question. What happened at TCS Nashik? I don't want to discuss that topic out here. But then coming about POSH, awareness about prevention of sexual harassment and workplace ethics is absolutely critical. What should every candidate know about POSH even before they take their first job?
I mean, this is one of the most important and very important. In fact, the most critical topic and compliance of India. Compliances, I'm sure everybody know. But yes, I do agree with you to the point that today freshers, or even freshers for the matter, mostly general employees will also not be aware of what POSH is all about. They know what POSH is, the prevention of sexual harassment. But yes, how it happens, what it happens. Nowadays, what the pattern has seen is that POSH is actually an important compliance where people should know that, hey, if I try to see somebody in a very bad manner, or maybe if I actually stare somebody, or I pass a comment, because what happens, today's freshers, what they do is they will actually put into joke around. But they should remember that just a normal joking in a sexual environment, or creating that kind of sexual comments can also lead to sexual harassment. So they
Right.
should understand the criticality of what they are talking, how they are talking. Again, we go back to the question one: employability skills. How much to talk, what to talk, how much to say, what is required to say, what is not required to say, how to add that humor within the organization is very much the required skills for today's generation to understand before entering the organizations. Because just a simple joke that they make can actually create an environment into such negative attention that people will say, hey, oh, then it will become like I was not aware, and it's not an excuse to a crime.
Absolutely, absolutely. Moving forward, Pooja with your background in HR and legal compliances, what are some basic workplace rights and responsibilities candidates should be aware of?
See, from the HR perspective, there are policies that people should follow. Now, some companies actually feel, in fact, some employees who comes as a fresher will say, I was not aware of the policy,
Right.
or I am new to the organization. But general like code of conducts, or basically discipline actions, or something like, as I said, again, see, we are talking in length, and we are talking every question pertains to only one thing: what skills. And that is what L&D becomes very, very close to my heart, because it's very important for an employee who has come into an organization, prior to coming to an organization, that there are certain do's and don'ts that you should not be doing, or you should be doing in the organization in a disciplinary manner. I think I will refer this to one of the posts that I was going through on LinkedIn today in the morning, and somebody was questioning that, do you believe the efforts should be counted or measured, or the outcomes should be counted? But I believe that efforts and outcomes both, find unaware of something and I still do it, saying and just say I'm a fresher, I was not aware of it, all of a sudden it becomes very difficult for the other person also to understand how to punish, what to do, how to explain. Certain things can be explained, but not everything can be explained. Efforts, outcomes, impact, it all works together hand in hand. They are inversely inside the organization must know that, hey, if I do not know anything, let me ask either the HR person or the compliance person, or hey, it's not that. Something like they should not for example, if I talk about DEI, you should not talk about somebody's religion, you should not talk about something which is sexual. So refrain from using such statements which you think can put you into a discipline. That's normal, that's common. But generally, today's freshers I've seen, they just come in and they say, oh, I'm new to the organization, I'm not aware. That's where the problem starts.
Many candidates focus only on technical skills. How important are compliance ethics and workplace behavior in long-term career growth?
See, compliance, ethics, and workplace behavior, as I said, is important in the long-term career growth, because this is the behavior that is being noticed by the organizations, your managers, your peers, your co-workers, your colleagues that you're working with. This is highly important from a point of view. If you say about technical skills, here you're talking about focus on technical skills. I would say a combination of technical and behavioral skills is something that performance appraisals are done on nowadays, how you're doing. But yes, you're right. How much you achieve, what is your NPS score, have you satisfied the customer or not, have you used the right technical skills to help the organizations or the customers. The customer is the key. These are very important. But at the same time, if a person who's technically strong but was not able to express his views to the customer on a call, has actually failed to explain, the customer has gone, hey, I did not understand what the employee was saying, there is a problem, again, the communication is lacking. So as I said, communication always mixed up with technical skills is highly important for an employee to understand, and that actually becomes like a long-term career growth.
Yes. Pooja ji, can you share some examples, some common mistakes employees make that lead to disciplinary or compliance issues, and how can they actually avoid them?
Okay. I'll give you a live example from an organization. I would not name the organization
Yes.
in this podcast. Having said that, I'll give you an example. Two employees came to me in one of the organization I'm talking about, and separately, they both separately came to me and said, "Hey, I saw somebody holding hands in the organization, and that disturbs my mind. And I see them both, a boy and a girl, walking in an organization." So two people came to me, one from a different department, complaining about the same two people who were holding hands in the organization or putting their arms on another's shoulder while standing in the cafeteria. Now, this is an act where people are becoming uncomfortable because of the kind of a cultural setup that was there in the organization. There was no cultural training. Again, it comes to diversity, inclusion, belongingness trainings that we have to do. That, these kind of trainings. But here the question was of PDA, which is public display of affection. You cannot display your affection in public because the environment doesn't suit like that. Having said that, this was not a lead to disciplinary, but from the HR perspective, this was a disciplinary because this is not acceptable in an official environment. People will not consider it nice. So what we did is we understood the situation that they were not aware. So we conducted a public display of affection training to them. And instead of taking it to disciplinary, because see, it's very easy to declare that, hey, you are in a disciplinary, now you have to undergo all this trauma and you have to investigate on that. Instead, we put down these two people together, made them understand what not was right as per their behaviors in the organization, because they were freshers. Just to quote that word, they were freshers. So they were not aware of that behavioral pattern. Hence, what we did is, instead of punishing them, we just explained that this behavior was not acceptable and hence you should not do it. We conducted a PDA training for the entire floor. For that matter.
Yes.
So that everybody becomes now aware of that kind of behavior, and instead of taking it disciplinary, I think it was easier for us to explain them.
From an onboarding and training perspective, what differentiates employees who grow quickly within an organization and from those who stagnate?
Basically, employees who grow very quickly, if I take that, let's divide these two parts. One is employees who grow very, very quickly and employees who stagnate. Okay, so when I say about growing, it says they take ownership from day one. They know what they're doing. They treat onboarding as a launch pad, as if like not a checklist that, okay, they'll ask questions. If I wanted to do this, am I allowed to do this? They act on feedback very fast. They build a very good relationship within the organization. They stay curious beyond the curriculum, is what I say. All right. But when I say employees who stagnate, they wait for direction. Hey, should I ask? Should I not ask? Should I move forward or not? They just wanted to complete the task, but they don't want to understand it all. So they rely heavily on their managers for trainings to drive everything. Or they will say, hey, I was not told this in the onboarding thing, so let me wait for somebody to come and tell me whether this is allowed or not allowed. All right. They avoid almost all the discomfort. They resist or ignore feedbacks. They stay transactional. They operate within the silos. I mean, learning stays very theoretical. They don't want to get into the practical environment. So that is what I would say from onboarding and learning perspective. That's how employees behave.
Right.
Both the scenarios.
Yes. Moving on to the next question, I have come across candidates who take learning sessions very casually or just for the heck of it. So how can candidates make the most of corporate training programs and learning management systems once they join a company?
See, I'll tell you a very practical example how I conduct these trainings in my organizations or anywhere wherever I go. Generally, trainings are something that people think, come inside the training room, somebody will run a PPT or do some little activities, and that's how training is done. No. Trainings, actually, that is information sharing for me. For me, trainings works as I want to understand my trainee well. For that, I will actually go through a pre-evaluation stage. And what that pre-evaluation stage means, that I would like to understand my trainee for like 5 minutes. I want to speak with the person. And I will give them like some psychometric test statements where I will understand their mindset. It's nothing to do with a right and a wrong answer. It is to understand that maybe this person requires training or not is important. That is important for a trainer to know. And that is important for a trainer to also know that whether there is a willingness for the trainee to come to a training room. What happens? What is the most dangerous question in training today is, why me? Why do you want me to come into the training room? Have I done something? The first signal will, have I done something wrong? Oh, is my performance on target?
Yes.
Is something that I have not achieved properly? Oh, there is a complaint against me. Oh, people are not happy about me. That's why they're putting me in training. So these are the signals that people actually go through. To calm down on this particular signal, what I always do is make sure that they actually understand why trainings are important. They have to go through a pre-evaluation stage for me to understand their mindset and they to understand why training is important. Once we reveal the results to them saying, hey, you stand at this level, we have to cover this complete way and we have to achieve this. Do you think this is something important? And during the training also we do a lot of assessments and it makes us easy. And most important, we don't use PPTs. So we only do activity-based trainings, which is important. We give them activities and let them speak. As I said, speaking is important. Communication is the key. And post the training, 15 days after the training, we do post-evaluations to understand what was the gap between pre and post. That is when the training started becoming effective. And the best part of our trainings is that attendance is 100% after they've understood why the training is there.
If you had to design a starter toolkit, for job seekers entering the workforce, what key skills, mindsets, and knowledge areas would it include?
Okay, I'll divide that into few parts. Okay. First one is the foundation. The foundation will be a mindset, a learning ability, in fact, not ability, agility, I would say. I wanted to learn. I wanted to enter. I should have the ability to pick up and relearn quickly. Comfort with ambiguity, very, very important. Not everything will be clear, but I will still move ahead and ask questions. Feedback readiness, very, very important. So I always put, if I have to put a training toolkit for a person on an onboarding day, that is what I'll do as a foundation. Then I will say communication that really works in the real world. How does that work is structured thinking before speaking, or you can say very simple and sharp expressions, active listening, very, very important. Professional presence, your appearance, automatically your body language speaks more than 1,000 words that you will speak. Right? Then we can put in this toolkit something like workplace ethics or workplace skills, something like taking ownership or curating ideas, time and priority management, attention to detail, basic problem solving, something like workplace and business awareness. Are you aware of it? Or if you're not aware of it, what can we provide to help you settle down? Like, for example, what we do in induction. In induction, what we do is we inform them what is there in the company, what are the policies, what are the benefits. Are you aware of this? If you are not, let me make you aware of this. So another toolkit can be how can you build relationship and workplace navigations, building trust, stakeholder awareness, or we can also have one more thing in this, which is learning and growth engine. If you want to learn, there are platforms available within the organization. Do not hesitate to approach the L&D department to work and learn something new and upgrade your skill sets. So if I put all these pointers together, it will be a beautiful toolkit for a person who's starting from within an organization. And this will lead to one of your questions, which says, you belong to the organization. That's why we are trying to help you settle down in the organization well.
Absolutely. Okay, Pooja ji, it is now we are moving forward into a fun and a fast-paced rapid fire round, short questions, quick answers, first instinct only. This will help our audience learn from real, unfiltered perspective. My first rapid fire question goes to you right now. One skill every job seeker must learn in 2026.
Employability skills.
Great. Biggest interview mistakes candidates make. This is rapid fire.
Yeah. Ask too many questions.
Okay. One soft skill most underrated today.
Listening skills.
Yes, that I fully accept. Confidence or competence, which gets noticed first?
Confidence.
One word that defines a great employee.
Professionalism.
A red flag in an interview instantly.
Negative approach.
Okay. My last rapid fire question goes to you right now. One thing freshers should stop doing immediately.
Jump to conclusions.
One more question which has just cropped up from my mind.
Please ask.
Yes. If you were not an HR or an L&D professional, what career would you have chosen?
Legal.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. Okay, Pooja ji, thank you so much for joining us and sharing such practical insights with our audiences. I am sure this conversation will help many job seekers understand what truly matters for getting hired and growing in their careers. To everyone watching, we'll keep bringing you more such conversations with HR leaders and founders to help you stay ahead in your career journey. So for now, stay connected with Let's Hear It From. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep moving forward.